Strasbourg Court could rule that governments have to protect people from things like climate change. Judges from the court will decide next week whether people's human rights have been breached by the failure of governments to protect them from the harmful effects of climate change. What are your thoughts on this? Because the legal challenge is based on the claim that failure to tackle climate change sufficiently to protect the public amounts to breach of Article 2, the right to life, and Article 8, the right to a family life. I'm just thinking, if this is successful, could it be the blueprint for people all over the world? I mean, you've already got in the United States individuals suing corporations for, just this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think probably good afternoon as always, Trisha. Good afternoon to everybody at home and on the move. It's interesting because, you do have this kind of governmental and political commitment, don't we, that we're kind of continually told about with regard to climate change, but it often doesn't seem to result in real action. Various climate change summits resulting actually in little being produced in terms of targets being hit, targets being changed after the fact, 5 years being rolled on, 5 years being added. And I think it's inevitable that you actually get courts starting to become involved. And you're right, you see it in US in various cases. We kind of see it in the cases we've talked about to do with protests and the fact that there's this disconnect between what governments and corporations are saying and in a kind of in terms of the shareholders, etc., and how society then views them. And I think now we're starting to see it increasingly with various types of litigation. We see it with the Good Law Project, for example, where governments aren't standing up to their responsibilities in various ways. And I think it was inevitable that Strasbourg would become involved with regard to climate change, because climate change is a feature in our common conversation at the moment that affects the very most serious things in people's life. And when government and even our domestic courts aren't interfering or interceding adequately, the last chance saloon, that last bastion, that last possibility of basic rights being secured. Well, that is Strasbourg. That's why we signed, that's why we wrote the European Convention of Human Rights in the post-war environment.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a group of Swiss women in their 70s backed by Greenpeace. One woman said she couldn't leave her house for 3 weeks during the summer because it was so hot. Then there's a second case of Damien Carême, former mayor of a suburb of Dunkirk, who argued his home and the surrounding areas will be underwater by 2040 if France fails to meet its greenhouse gas targets. Third one, 6 Portuguese nationals aged 14 to 25 claiming they've suffered anxiety or ill health as a result of forest fires. So people are taking actual instances like forest fires, you say extreme heat, flooding, etc., and saying, I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to take my government to court because they're not doing anything to stop this happening again in the future.
Yeah, and it's interesting because people might go, well, hang on a minute, I don't believe in climate change, or this is kind of about opinions or the culture wars or whatever. No, it's not. It's about real things. If you spent time in southern Spain, for example, and, I was there on holiday 2 years ago, and I just would watch this forest fire on a mountain burning and burning and burning for days. These are real things, real people's lives. Yes, they suffered anxiety, but those people suffer ill health, and these are real, alarming and immediate changes to our environment that are connected to our behavior, and I don't regard myself particularly as an environmentalist or kind of, particularly au fait progressive in that regard. But I think it's at the stage where people on all sides of the spectrum, they're kind of concerned.
They're saying enough. They're saying enough is enough, isn't it?